Thanks for remaining with us on TVC Breakfast. We're focusing our attention on Paris Club refunds and, of course, EFCC versus
the Governors Forum.
Yes, yeah. Indeed. Now, despite the different bailout funds the Nigerian government has provided, many states are owing workers' salaries and pensions. So, of course, that's no longer news.
It's no longer news. Now, the latest of these funds is the Paris Club refund of about 522 billion naira to all 36 states in the first tranche, which President Buhari approved for release in December 2016.
The federal government later released the sum of 388.304 billion naira out of the 522 billion naira. The federal government is set to release the second tranche of the Paris refund, about $500 billion, naira actually, to states. But this time, it's based on an agreement earlier reached by the presidency and the Nigerian Governors Forum, NGF, that about 25% to 50% of the first tranche will be used to offset outstanding salaries and pensions.
And controversy is trailing the release of the first tranche over allegations that the funds were allegedly mismanaged. Now, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is now investigating the 19 billion naira, and that's about $86 million allegedly deducted by the Nigeria Governors Forum from the first tranche of 522 billion naira.
The funds are said to have been diverted for payments to consultants and legal advisors engaged by the Nigerian Governors Forum and some states, an allegation the Governors Forum has denied. The government is waiting for the outcome of the investigation by the EFCC, and on the first tranche, or the second one is disbursed. We're now joined by a lawyer, Ahmed Abbas, who better to be discussing this with. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. Now, the FCC is saying, is asking questions. I mean, how did the money get into the account, this 19 billion of the, tranche we're talking about? Who remitted it and for what purpose? These questions are out there, no answers yet given. Of course, the NGF is saying we have not diverted any funds. What are your thoughts on this?
You see, I think I was ruminating on Thomas Jefferson's comment on the two greatest enemies of the people. He said the criminals and the government. And he said we need constitutional restraint in order not to make the government the legalized form of the former. And that's exactly what is playing out in this part of the world. That the government that ought to be at the forefront of advancing the welfare of Nigerians are actually at the forefront of ensuring that our people are impoverished.
Very sad commentary, if you ask me.
That's the honest truth. And I'm beginning to get to the point to ask, you see, our humanity is being questioned globally. Donald Trump the other day said, are we capable of governing ourselves? Sometimes you look at our borders and look at advanced countries and look at the way our people are running away out of this country. Able-bodied youth whose talent and potential should be contributing to the advancement of the black race. The environment is suffocating, choked, because the resources ordinarily that should be used for development and enhancing our economic well-being is being looted by people day by day. And we seem to be helpless. We seem to be helpless. The Governors Forum is coming as a class to say we are waiting for EFCC. If EFCC has a case against each of the governors, let them answer their question. And probably the federal government should actually solicit international assistance. Because I think we are getting to a point where these cabals, they seem to have pocketed everything in this country. And the judicial system is unable to cage their rapacity. They are becoming like terrorists, financial terrorists. That's exactly what we are finding ourselves in.
It's all right. In this case, I would like to take it from this perspective. We know that the federal government gave some bailout to states to pay salaries at the time. And these monies were refunded to Nigeria at this critical time in the first place, should the federal government have given some conditions on how to have settled this issue and how the monies should have been disbursed before he approved that state governors should take what is entitled to them, even though it's originally theirs anyway?
There were two schools of thought at the time the issue of bailout funds were coming. We found ourselves in a very critical situation. Salaries were not being paid. Civil servants were complaining. Some were dying. They were being owed 12 months and other. So the pressure came on the federal government to do something. And believing that we have two tiers of government, that the governors ordinarily should be responsible. You preside over a state, you were unable to pay salaries. And you were saying the reason why you can't pay salaries is because you don't have the money. And somebody in a position says, well, I will bail you out. Take this money and pay this, the workers. What do you expect a reasonable man to do with that money? It's simply to pay the salary. But time and time again, the political class seems so distant from the realities on ground.
But should this Paris refund have been directed at paying salaries in the first place? Yes, we know that there was a problem of non-payment of salaries and pension arrears. But when you, in a recession, I mean, shouldn't a more sustainable measure have been put in place, and of course systems to even prevent such diversions, in the first place? I'm talking about using those funds for more sustainable projects rather than paying salaries.
When you are trying to inflate an economy, you also must talk about disposable income. Because if people don't have disposable income, if you produce anything, who is going to buy it? So sometimes it's a policy as well to rejig the economy, because if people don't have money to spend, your productive capacity is just in vain. Your warehouses will be starched with goods produced and nobody to buy.
Yes.
So it's a policy trust. Deliberately sometimes you put disposable income in the hands of people to be able to spend. As they spend, the economy has a way of benefiting from it. If you produce goods and there's nobody to buy, workers don't have salaries to buy goods, the economy will be at a standstill. So ordinarily, if they had done what they were supposed to do by paying workers' salary, one way or the other, the economy will be a beneficiary, because the money will automatically also go around. Yes, it will go around.
Let me recraft the question. Should there have been systems in place to ensure? I mean, you had the finance ministry headed by Kemi Adeosun, the budget office, and of course one or two other government agencies in charge of these particular funds that were handed over to the governors. And according to them, they had done enough checks to ensure that these monies were well utilized. Alas, here we are.
You see, it's not about checks. It's not about rules. It's not about conditions. It's not about law guiding the practice, the protocol, the procedures, and the processes of government. There are processes. There are laws. There are control measures. We are simply being governed by people who do not believe in those processes. These are people that have the mindset of emperors. They simply just want to do whatever they want to do and get away. Now, it's not as if EFCC is investigating, is aware that there were some infringements. Are you aware that some governors who served between 1999 and 2003 during Obasanjo's regime are still being prosecuted by EFCC till date?
Yes.
There is a deliberate attempt by the elite to sabotage the system. It's not about them. There was a day a man was charged to court, sentenced to about 100 how many years imprisonment for stealing what? Are you getting my point? Yeah. It's comical. Yeah. It's a comedy. It's a classical comedy that advanced countries will look at us and say, these people are not serious. The elite are deliberately bogging down the system. And that's why every forum I've always said, we also have collaborators within the legal profession who simply sit on the side of these corrupt guys and say, look, don't worry, we will help you bog down the system. Just give us part of the loot. It doesn't matter. We know how to ensure that in the next 10, 20 years, you are in court. And it won't augur well for the society. That's the honest truth.
Now, in this case, moving forward, how helpless is the EFCC really from the way it is. It seems the people are helpless. They are complaining. Nobody is doing anything about it. The EFCC has the willpower, has the passion, has the will, and wants to work, but you cannot work. So how helpless is the situation?
You see, most times, I think the greatest challenge we have is that we need philosophers and thinkers to interrogate what we do in this part of the world. Because, you see, most of the procedures, the processes, the ideas, the philosophy, the democratic practice, the economic philosophies that we imbibe from the outside world were a product of their own interrogation with their environment over periods of time that led to the crafting of those philosophies to guide their society. It worked for them because it was a product of debate over the years, struggle between classes, and they came to a point where they realized that this will work for us. For us, we must get to a point where we need to interrogate some of the philosophies we have imbibed that is actually not working. For example, we are face to face with a critical situation where the judicial system is bogged down deliberately by men whose conscience is sealed, not caring what the society suffer. It's about my pocket. We must get to a point. Look, the election petition, for example, has a time limit, has a tenure. If you have a presidential candidate who has an election case, it's provided within certain period of time, you must dispose of that matter. So the lawyer is aware that I have limited time. You can't afford to be frivolous. We must sit down to look at it and recraft most of our prosecution, laws guiding the judicial criminal system, and insist on putting time frame. Because you see, this limitless approach that a lawyer can bring in application, frivolous application, countless number of times. You bring one application to the High Court, you are denied, your prayers are not granted, you run to the Court of Appeal. From the Court of Appeal, you go to the Supreme Court, you come back to start afresh again. For the next 2-3 years, you are still hearing preliminary issues, applications and motions. For the next 6 years, God help you, the judge retires or the judge is transferred. You start de novo again, the same application that he brought. You know what?
So
we must guide, we must creatively, we must be creative in finding solutions to our problem.
When you say that, are you talking about, some time back, there was this talk about homegrown democracy and all of that. Is that what Nigeria really should be looking at? And you said we need thinkers. Do we have, is it a dearth of thinkers, or is it just the unwillingness on the part of the thinkers that we actually have to do the right thing? They know the right thing, but they don't want to do it. Now, let's not lose sight of what we're discussing this morning. The federal government had released 522 billion naira, of course, to 35 states as refund of over-deducted funds of the Paris Club, based on recommendations of the FG's Committee on over-deductions on foreign loan obligations for states. Now, that is the issue here right now. Now, the EFCC says it has found 86 billion naira in the account of the NGF. Was that amount supposed to be in the account of the NGF? And the question again, this NGF, Nigerian Governors Forum, is there any law backing this body? When you have a Governors Forum, isn't that an anomaly in itself?
I know, well, there's freedom of association.
Yes,
like mine. It's like the media people forming an association to advance their cause and their interests. Ordinarily, we shouldn't have any problem with NGF if the intention is for peer review
mechanism.
Yeah, let's share ideas. How are you cleaning up Lagos? Like Kano is coming to borrow an idea from Lagos to say, please come and replicate Loma for us in Kano State.
Do you need a forum to be able to do that?
No, there's nothing wrong in people having similar agenda and vision and objectives,
and deciding
coming
to
together. No, there's absolutely nothing wrong. It's just like the Nigerian Bar Association. It's just like the medical Nigeria. You need a forum. If, like I said, the objective is more important. What is the objective? If it is to share ideas and to motivate and probably create healthy competition, there's nothing wrong. But when you begin to use that forum for purpose of protecting
and shielding
people who are infringing on laws, then we begin to question the rationale.
All right, Ahmed Abbas, I am afraid this is the much time can permit us right now. We're just getting into the issue, but we have to end it here right now. Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.